Buckle up for what the AV Club is calling a ferociously entertaining, beautifully orchestrated thrill ride, and what the Hollywood Reporter has praised as a menacing supernatural suspenser. Oddity follows Darcy, a self-proclaimed psychic and collector of cursed items, who is in the pursuit of uncovering the truth behind her sister's brutal murder. Convinced that there was more to her murder than people know, Darcy brings out the most dangerous items from her cursed collection to help exact revenge. Own the film critics are deeming the scariest movie of the year. Oddity is now available on DVD and Blu-ray. Order today on Amazon.com. In honor of the 10th anniversary of the iconic horror film The Babadook, the modern classic returns with its DVD and Blu-ray 10th anniversary edition, featuring over 2 hours of bonus features. 6 years after the violent death of her husband, Amelia is at a loss. She struggles to discipline her out-of-control 6-year-old Samuel, whose dreams are plagued by a monster he believes is coming to kill them both. A flat-out masterpiece, praised IndieWire, with Empire calling The Babadook one of the strongest, most effective horror films. Own the 10th anniversary edition of The Babadook today, now available on DVD and Blu-ray.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
Hello, everyone. The clip you're about to hear is from one of our exclusive Patreon episodes on a recent horror release, and just like all of our other episodes, it might include major spoilers for said horror release, so don't listen to it if you haven't already seen it. You've officially been warned. And if you'd like to hear the full episode, just head on over to patreon.com/horrorqueers and subscribe today. Without further ado, here is your exclusive Patreon clip. I will say this, though. Okay, so, we've joked about Doberman and how he's not a good writer. He directed this movie, and his only other directorial credit is Annabelle Comes Home, which I think is aggressively fine.
Yeah, I can't even remember. Did we cover that one, or did we just watch it together?
I think it was 2019. We might have covered it, actually. It might have been a Patreon film. Maybe that first year. But I will say this. There are some shots in this movie that I think are fucking gorgeous. Like, visually. And it was so interesting because when the trailer dropped, so many people were like, oh, this is what we're doing. We're doing these flat blues, like no color, blah, blah, blah.
It's a very dark film, at least in the trailer.
Yes, but I actually thought, I loved the production design. The sets I thought were fantastic. And there were some, I'm thinking specifically of the silhouette shot as Straker is stalking the two boys through the forest. I was like, This looks so neat. To the point where it almost had a fairy tale quality, like a fairy tale pop-up book quality to it that I really liked.
100%. Yes. I took note of a couple of different transitions that I think are really fun. Even, the special effects of when the vampires get thrown back by the cross. And even, I'm such a fucking low rent sucker. Glowing cross. I was just like, that's so visually interesting. I like it.
Again, I was like, honestly, the thing I was feeling mostly while I was watching this, where I was like, this has all been in the Stephen King property that I have, totally ignored for my entire... Because... Admittedly, here's the thing. I was kind of like, Stephen King, vampires. It's not really jumping to me. Whatever. It's not something I was really seeking out. Mm-hmm. But I just kept thinking, wow, there's this kind of stuff in this source material that I have just, I misjudged this book by its cover.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think in part it's because it's easy to get a little burnt out by Uncle Steve. He's published so much and he's had so many films adapted from his work. I think at times it can feel like, all right, well, we're doing the same old thing, to the point where it's a writer who comes home to his small town because he's looking to investigate his past. And you think, well, that's the most Stephen fucking King thing I've ever read or heard. And of course, yes, we're acknowledging that this is a book that was written in 1975. So this is an early Stephen King. It's not as though he was trespassing on his own material. I need to be careful not to dig myself into a hole here. Obviously, Stephen King has developed certain conventions and tropes within his own work, and sometimes that can get a little exhausting to someone who isn't always his biggest fan. but I'm working to isolate this text. So, this is early in his career. This is when he was actually developing some of those conventions and tropes. So I can forgive them, but then I do think that Doberman is actually doing a decent job of augmenting them with his visual style so that even though this is a period piece, it still feels like it's playing in some fresh territory.